Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about something we've all dealt with at some point, toxic people. You know who I'm talking about, that co-worker who constantly puts you down, the family member who drains your energy, or that friend who always makes everything about them. The truth is, difficult people are unavoidable, but how you respond to them, that's completely in your control. Today I'm sharing 20 powerful strategies organized into 5 main approaches that will change how you handle toxic relationships forever. If you're tired of letting difficult people steal your joy and peace of mind, this video is for you. Let's dive in. Section 1. Setting boundaries with confidence. The first approach is all about establishing clear boundaries. This is absolutely essential when dealing with toxic individuals. 1. The direct conversation method. When someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, sometimes the best approach is straightforward communication. For example, Sarah had a coworker who constantly interrupted her during meetings. After weeks of frustration, she finally said, "I notice I get interrupted often when I'm speaking. I'd appreciate being able to finish my thoughts before hearing feedback." By addressing the behavior specifically without attacking the person, she set a clear boundary that her coworker could understand. 2. The broken record technique. When toxic people push back against your boundaries, simply repeat your position calmly, without getting defensive. My friend Miguel used this when his brother kept asking to borrow money, despite never paying him back. Each time, Miguel would simply say, "I'm not comfortable lending money anymore." When his brother tried different angles or guilt trips, Miguel just repeated the same sentence. Eventually, his brother stopped asking. 3. The physical distance strategy. Sometimes physical space is a boundary you need. Consider Madison, who had a toxic desk neighbor who constantly complained and gossiped. She asked to move desks, explaining to her manager that she needed a quieter environment to focus. When questioned by her toxic colleague, she simply said, "I work better with fewer distractions," without making it personal. 4. The time limit approach. You can set boundaries around your time. Alex had an emotionally draining friend who would call for hours to vent. He started saying things like, "I have 15 minutes to talk now before I need to start dinner." By setting a clear time boundary, their conversations became more manageable, and his friend eventually found other outlets for constant venting. Section 2. Psychological protection techniques. The second approach focuses on protecting your mental health when dealing with toxic behavior. 5. The gray rock method. This technique involves becoming as interesting as a gray rock to a toxic person. When someone feeds off drama, provide minimal emotional response. Emma used this with her drama-seeking cousin, who would try to provoke reactions with controversial statements at family gatherings. Instead of engaging, Emma would respond with neutral phrases like "interesting" or "I see," while keeping her tone and expressions neutral. Without emotional fuel, her cousin eventually moved on to more responsive targets. 6. The emotional detachment technique. This involves recognizing that toxic behavior is about them, not you. Jason had a micromanaging boss who criticized everything. Rather than taking it personally, Jason started mentally saying, "This is about their insecurity, not my competence." This mental shift helped him respond professionally rather than emotionally, saying things like, "I appreciate the feedback. What specific changes would you recommend?" This approach often disarmed his boss's criticism. 7. The reframing method. Change how you interpret toxic interactions. Priya had a mother-in-law who constantly criticized her parenting. Instead of seeing these comments as attacks, she reframed them. She's from a different generation with different values, and she genuinely wants what's best for her grandchildren. This reframing helped Priya respond with compassion rather than defensiveness, saying things like, "Thank you for caring so much about the kids. We're trying some different approaches that work well for our family." 8. The controlled response strategy. Plan your responses to common toxic behaviors in advance. Carlos had a colleague who constantly took credit for his ideas. Instead of reacting in the moment, he prepared responses like, "I'm glad you agree with the approach I presented earlier," or "Thanks for supporting the idea I shared in our meeting last week." By staying calm and prepared, he maintained professionalism while subtly reclaiming credit. Remember, You can't control their behavior, but you can control your response. Section 3. Communication tactics that work. Our third approach covers effective communication strategies that help neutralize toxic dynamics. 9. The question method. When someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, respond with a question that brings a subtext to the surface. When Olivia's co-worker said, "I guess some people just don't care about meeting deadlines," instead of defending herself, Olivia asked, "Are you concerned about something with my work on this project?" This forced her co-worker to either address the real issue or back down. 10. The perspective invitation. When faced with criticism, invite the person to explain their perspective in detail. David had a friend who frequently criticized his career choices. Rather than arguing, David started saying, "That's interesting. Can you tell me more about why you think that?" Often, the friend couldn't substantiate their criticism when asked to elaborate, which neutralized a negative dynamic. 11. The redirection method. Shift conversations away from negativity. Sophia had a friend who constantly gossiped about others. When her friend started criticizing someone, Sophia would say, "Speaking of Jane, I heard she's organizing a charity event. Have you ever thought about volunteering?" This consistently steered conversations toward positive topics. 12. The I statement formula. Express your feelings without accusations. When Ryan's roommate constantly left common areas messy, instead of saying, "You're so inconsiderate," he said, "I feel stressed when the living room is cluttered because I need a clean space to relax after work. Could we find a solution that works for both of us?" This approach led to a compromise without creating defensiveness. Effective communication isn't about winning arguments. It's about preserving your peace. Section 4. Strategic disengagement. Sometimes the best strategy is knowing when to step back and disengage. 13. The exit strategy. Have prepared phrases to exit toxic conversations. Aisha had a colleague who constantly complained about management. She developed simple exit lines like, "I need to get back to this project now," or "I should check my emails before the next meeting." Having these ready helped her disengage without seeming rude. 14. The topic change technique. Abruptly change subjects when conversations turn toxic. When Marcus's uncle started making inappropriate political comments at family dinners, he'd say, "That reminds me, has anyone seen that new Marvel movie?" The unexpected topic change interrupted the negative pattern without direct confrontation. 15. The selective engagement approach. Choose when and how you engage with toxic people. Lena had a negative cousin who drained her energy. She decided to only meet her in group settings rather than one-on-one and limited their interactions to specific time-bound events. When her cousin asked for more time together, Lena would say, "Group gatherings work best with my schedule right now." 16. The digital boundary method. Control how and when toxic people can reach you online. Jordan had a former colleague who would send negative messages at all hours. He muted notifications from this person and set a rule to only check and respond to these messages during a specific 15-minute window once a week. This contained the negativity to a small, controlled part of his life. Disengaging isn't giving up. It's choosing your peace over pointless conflict. Section 5. Building your resilience. Our final approach focuses on strengthening yourself to minimize the impact of toxic people. 17. The support network activation. Cultivate positive relationships that provide perspective when dealing with toxic people. After difficult interactions with her critical mother, Hannah would call her supportive friend Sam. Their conversation helped Hannah process her feelings and remember that her mother's perspective wasn't universal truth. Having the support system in place prevented toxic interactions from dominating her emotional state. 18. The reality check method. Document toxic interactions to maintain perspective. When Tony started doubting himself due to his manager's manipulative behavior, he began keeping a journal of their interactions. This helped him recognize patterns and realize, this isn't about my performance. This is a pattern of behavior she shows with everyone. The documentation provided clarity and prevented gaslighting from affecting his self-confidence. 19. The personal growth focus. Use toxic situations as opportunities for developing stronger emotional skills. After repeated conflicts with her confrontational neighbor, May realized she needed to improve her assertiveness. She took an online course on conflict resolution and practiced with supportive friends. What started as a difficult relationship became a catalyst for May's personal growth in handling difficult conversations. 20. The self-care protocol. Develop specific self-care practices to use after toxic interactions. Richard created a recovery routine after dealing with his difficult in-laws. 20 minutes of exercise, followed by 10 minutes of meditation. Having this structured response helped minimize the emotional impact of toxic encounters and prevented them from affecting the rest of his day. Your well-being matters more than pleasing toxic people. So there you have it. 20 practical strategies organized into 5 powerful approaches for dealing with toxic people. Let's quickly recap. Set clear boundaries with confidence. Protect yourself psychologically. Use effective communication tactics. Know when to strategically disengage. Build your personal resilience. Remember, you can't control other people's behavior, but you absolutely can control how you respond to it. Which of these strategies do you think would work best in your situation? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content on personal growth and healthy relationships. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching, and remember, you deserve relationships that build you up, not tear you down. See you in the next video.